Bitcoin is currently finding itself facing resistance on the 1 hour time frame, currently finding that the 50 SMA at $43,057 is heavy resistance. As you can kind of see here on this 1 hour time frame, we have seen this yellow 50 SMA line being heavy resistance, suppressing the price action of BTC. In today's video, guys, we're going to be taking a look at the 1 hour, 1 day, and 1 week's timeframes for Bitcoin, sharing my thoughts and opinions on what I think is likely to unfold for Bitcoin in the next couple of days. Let's roll that intro and get right down into it. Okay, guys, let's take a look at this. So here we have Bitcoin paired up with USDT. We're on the 1 hour Binance chart. And as you can kind of see here, we are finding the 50 SMA as resistance, right? As I said, currently that is $43,057. From here, we are finding ourselves with a little bit of a problem. We've got the 50 EMA, which is the red line, actually acting as support, but the 50 SMA acting as resistance. If we close below the 50 EMA at 42,979, in the next kind of 30 minutes before this video goes out, then I would suspect we'll probably see more moves to the downside overall. Now, from our stochastic RSIs, we can see that actually we have plenty of room to break out to the upside, but also equally we can move on to the downside. The particular structure here that is going on is quite interesting as well. Let's throw some smart money concepts on the mix here. Here you can see that there's a fair value gap that's not yet been filled. Okay, that actually is this candlestick over this side. And what we're looking for here is to potentially fill this gap out. So that's basically 42,641 to 42,920. That's going to be an interesting area for us. We are also seeing a fair value gap just above as well. This coming in basically, I should go grab that, put that in the right spot. Coming in just up here at 43,107 to 43,327. So, we kind of find ourselves between the two, which is a very difficult place to be. We can go up, we can go down, right? And obviously no one wants to hear that. They want to know exactly what direction things are going in. Probability-wise, I think we are likely to be moving down rather than up, but it is a very close call nonetheless. The patterns that are of interest to me at the moment is a W, X, Y, X, and Z pattern. It's basically a 5-wave pattern that is corrective. And this is because we've come down deeper than the 1.382 on the fib scale within the Y wave structure. So this is kind of one of the reasons that I'm leaning more on the bearish side on the 1 hour time frame than the bullish side. And the other thing that I've noticed here on Bitcoin's 1 hour time frame is the higher highs and the higher lows. This does have a tendency to want to break on down, specifically when you have an overlapping structure, as we have seen. So I think for the most part, there's a slightly higher probability of a move to the downside than a move to the upside, but it isn't really a close call. It's going to be one of those we're going to have to see. Or it is quite a close call. It could go either way. I'm leaning more on the bearish side than the bullish side, so hopefully that is what plays out. But yeah, it's quite a difficult read on the 1 hour time frame. We did have hidden bullish divergence. I think it was hidden. Let me just check. Yeah, a hidden bullish divergence just in this little move here, and that's kind of played out in my opinion. So I don't have that to kind of contend with either. So at the moment, yeah, I think we're finding ourselves with trying to get above that 50 SMA. If we can close above the 50 SMA, I think that's going to swing things in the favor of a move to the upside. If we can't and we close below the 50 EMA, then we're going to be looking for that move to the downside, in my opinion, on the 1 hour time frame. But as I say, it's quite a tough read on the smaller time frames. If we take this up into the hourly, into the daily here. Here we can see that we actually have the 50 SMA as an area of support, right? That's coming in at 42,883. And, basically we broke above it, we've tested it, we're finding it as support, we're not closing below it. Now, if we do close below this, it is going to potentially lead us down even further, which is a part of my macro expectations. We are heavily overbought on the daily stochastic RSI. Let me bring this up here. And one of the key things here is we can see we've just crossed, the 50, we've crossed the stochastic RSI, the yellow line here, with the moving average of the stochastic. And this basically shows us that we're now looking at shifting and reversing the momentum. Every time you kind of cross these two lines, you go in the opposite direction. Now, it's not to say that you can cross again, because we might just cross back and be bullish a little bit more. But as it stands at the point of recording this video, this is an indication that actually, yeah, things are likely to start reversing from here. Overbought to oversold. We'll look to come back down towards our 50 EMA. If we can't hold that as support at 41,920, then yeah, we're going to be coming right the way back down. And as I said previously, I am expecting us to kind of move down in a really big way, testing out towards that 50 or a 200 EMA, sorry, on the white line, coming in at 35,913. So although our recent swing low down here at 38,555, is there, if it can hold, that's going to be great for the bulls, come down for a double bottom and then, really kind of launch. That's going to be great for the bullish environment. However, if we can't hold 38,555, then we're probably going to be looking at this area down here, what I've been talking about for a while, 35,735 to 37,653. And of course, that 200 daily EMA, which is sat down there as well. So all in all, it's quite an interesting kind of place to be on Bitcoin. We can see here a very big move to the downside. We're expecting a run upwards. I was hoping that we'd kind of tap into the 46K range, 45, 46. It's still possible, but I'm not confident on that at this point in time. I guess the best hope here would be that we would kind of have a little mini correction and then we push up to 45, 46. That's always a possibility, but at the point of recording the video, we can't see that playing out. So maybe over the next couple of days that would materialize as an option for us. Otherwise, we are looking at coming down towards the 35K, maybe even lower. Obviously, we know that 30K is the real area of focus, though it absolutely categorically has to hold if we want to see a more bullish environment, right? We want to see 30K hold. So anything above 30K still puts us in a bullish environment and puts us in a pretty sweet spot for Bitcoin. If we were to come down lower than 30K, I'm going to be quite concerned over what 2024 is going to present for Bitcoin and for the crypto market. As we take a look at the weekly time frame, like the weekly time frame is almost in the oversold area on the stochastic RSI. There's been a lot of questions around whether or not this is a positive or a negative. It's neither at the moment, because we have a daily that's overbought and a monthly that's overbought. The stochastic RSI on the weekly is just showing you that the weekly momentum hasn't been there. And this is usually just because volume profiles are really, really non-existent, as you can kind of see. So with low volumes, the stochastics will move quite fast. It shows you very weak, or a lot of weakness within its price movements. Now, the other thing that we have to kind of bear in mind is that we can be in an oversold status on a weekly time frame for weeks into months. It really isn't an indication as to kind of price movement. It is all to do with whether or not there is going to be volume and support in the moves to the upside to kind of correct us out of this. If not, we can continue to correct on down and continue to be in an oversold area for weeks. A good example would be May of 2022, right? We came down here in early May 2022. We did not leave until July, okay? And again, we're looking for the cross. The cross happened at the end of June. So we came down all the way through May, all the way through June, until we kind of get into July, we started to see a little bit of a lift. And even then, we still saw ourselves pulling back down on price action here, even whilst the stochastic RSI was quite high. So it's more of an indication of kind of trying to get confirmation across the different time frames as to whether or not the stochastic RSI is aligned. Now, you can, of course, use the RSI in alignment with the stochastic RSI to help us understand the differences. So in here, we've got the RSI being this yellow line underneath. And you can see that it's almost up in the overbought. It's come down a little bit, but it's still incredibly high. It is not as low as the stochastic RSI. Okay, so we might see a little bit of a bump, which we kind of have seen in the last kind of few days. But ultimately, we are looking for big corrections on the weekly time frame to the downside still. And I expect us to kind of be in an oversold status for quite some time on the stochastic. And we can use the RSI here to help us understand where that filter is going to next be. A good indication of how high we had been would be the peaks that we saw in April of 2021 and the corrections that led us down. We can see that we did move up a couple of times on that journey, and we could only really just be starting out a really big correction here for Bitcoin. So we want to be aware that we are very, very high. We're not in the same territory we were at when we saw, previous moves to the upside on an RSI point of view. We are way too high to see a significant surge to the upside. So personally, I think we're going to have to rule out new all-time highs until the RSI is corrected, along with the stochastic RSI on the probably on the daily and maybe even the monthly. So for now, as we can kind of see this, I'm still expecting more pain, more bleeding out in the market, in line with everything else that we've been talking about when it comes to Bitcoin and the crypto market. Everything from everything that's going on with the US, the Middle East, the Fed pivot, Evergrande. There's so much going on that is going to affect the markets here. Everything from the Bitcoin spot ETFs and Grayscale and so many things, right? It's really quite a difficult environment to take all that fundamental analysis and throw that into your charts. Your charts are not necessarily going to reflect all of those things that are just starting to materialize. What we do have are some key indications, though, that things are not in the best position for a bullish environment at this point in time. What we want to do is we want to have a nice healthy correction down to 30K. 30K holds as a good strong support, and then we get the bullish market from there. If we lose 30K, then things are going to get very, very tough for a lot of retail investors. But, that's my thoughts on it. But why don't you check out my thoughts on XRP right here, where I go through what I think is likely to happen in 2024 for the XRP holders.